Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yasodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Sirade Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Sirate Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Sirate Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Go Shitanat Premanande. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Gopal Krishna Goswami Namini Prabhupada Sasatyam Yapakasha Ditiracha Vacharan Kirvansharuvat Pate Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanam Jnana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Se Juta Padakamalang Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakambitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kipa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Ghaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, Text 26. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇaṁ vartate vidita-ātmanām kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate vidita-ātmanām kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate vidita-ātmanām kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate vidita-ātmanām
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam brahma-nirvāṇam.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
yatīnāṁ yata-cetasām.
yatīnām yata-cetasām.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
Mataji's.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
yatīnām
yatīnām
yata-cetasām.
yata-cetasām.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ.
yatīnām yata-cetasām.
yatīnām yata-cetasām.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
abhito brahma-nirvāṇam.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
vartate vidita-ātmanām.
Word for word meaning. Kama, from desires, krodha, and anger. Vimuktānāṁ, of those who are liberated. Yatīnām, of the saintly persons. Yata-cetasām, who have full control over the mind. Abhitaḥ, assured in the near future. Brahma-nirvāṇam, liberation in the Supreme. Vartate, is there. Vidita-ātmanām, of those who are self-realized. Translation. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Please repeat after me. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Purport. Of the saintly persons who are constantly engaged in striving toward salvation, one who is in Krishna consciousness is the best of all. The Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 39, confirms this fact as follows. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya karma sayang gratitam udgratayanti shanta tadvannarikta matayo yatayo pirudha shroto ganastang aranang bhaja vasudevam. Just try to worship in devotional service Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep-grown desire for fruitive activities. In the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy the fruitive results of work is so deep-rooted that it is very difficult even for the great sages to control such desires, despite great endeavors. A devotee of the Lord, constantly engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, perfect in self-realization, very quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. Owing to his complete knowledge and self-realization, He always remains in trance. To cite an analogous example of this, darsana dhyana samparsair matsya kurma bihagama swani apatyani pushnanti tataham api padmaja. By vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, do I also, O Padmaja. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly, by engagement in Krishna consciousness. He does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called brahma-nirvāṇam, or the absence of material miseries, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. Again, the verse, kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ, yatīnāṁ yata-cetasām, abhito brahma-nirvāṇam, vartate vidita-ātmanām. So some of the symptoms again of a self-realized soul, a person who is in the brahma-nirvāṇam, or that which is called one whose absence of material miseries is not there. That means absence of material miseries is there, rather, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. That means he's a saintly person. He's always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also always engaged in activities pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the conditioned soul's state of being to be the opposite of this. A person who is materially conditioned is always full of material desires, and he's also full of anger. Full of anger because he's not able to fulfill the desire to enjoy the sense objects with his senses. One cannot be self-realized if he is not free from material desires and becoming free from anger. So, a self-realized soul is always aspiring for purified state of consciousness. That means he's always wanting to attain the goal of perfection, and therefore he is in Krishna consciousness. He is the best of all. The best of the salvationist. There is in the notes here. By being fixed in meditation on the Super Soul, one soon attains liberation in the near future. This is what the verse is saying. Because his senses is fully under control, the mind is peaceful, he is happy, and therefore he already reached the Super Soul. He can hear the Super Soul's dictation. How many are like that. Not very many, because this is the purified state here. Self-realized, vidita-ātmanām. Since from about 6 slokas, since from last week, or even before that, the symptoms or the qualities of a self-realized soul is being mentioned here. Is being free from anger and all material desires. And therefore, he is self-realized, self-disciplined, and always endeavoring for perfection. So, rest assured that if he is always in this state of mind or consciousness, then the liberation, attaining the Supreme in the near future, is guaranteed. There is a verse here quoted by Srila Prabhupada, whereby just by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, there are two. There's one Vasudeva, and there's Vasudeva. Vasudeva means Krishna. And Vasudeva doesn't have that hyphen on the first A. Vasudevam, that means the father of Vasudeva, of Lord Krishna. So there's a verse is being quoted here that even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as efficiently as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep-grown desire for fruitive activities. So what are the examples of this? Great personalities. One I can think of right now is Saubhari Muni, who is trying to control his senses. And in order for him to avoid being distracted, so he went to meditate underwater. Being underwater is not be able to see other objects of the senses. But again, he became distracted by seeing two fish copulating. And his meditation broke down. He's not able to control his senses, and he get out of his meditation. And therefore, he's not be able to attain the target, attain the goal, which is to become self-realized. On the other hand, the opposite of this story is that of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, being a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given him the title Nama Acharya because he's always chanting the holy name of the Lord, that even when the Qazi sent a prostitute to entice him, to allure him, he was not disturbed. On the other hand, the prostitute became a devotee after the third night of trying to seduce Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur being determined to fulfill his vow of chanting 3 lakhs, holy name of the Lord, that he promised to the prostitute, okay, you wait, I will fulfill your desires, but let me finish my rounds first. let me finish the prescribed number of rounds that I have taken the vow. So by the end of the first night, because it was already daylight when he finished his rounds, so there is no other choice except for the prostitute to return the next day. She promised to the Chandkasi that actually, yes, I will fulfill your desires to have him fall down. The second night happened again and again. Haridas Thakur was chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And again, he wanted to fulfill also the desire of the prostitute. So he asked her again to wait till he finished his rounds. And then daylight happened again, and he finished his rounds, but then the prostitute was made to return the next night. And after that third night, the prostitute became a devotee after hearing the pure chanting of the holy name from Srila Haridas Thakur. And he promised to her that if you also chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then you don't have anything to worry about. Nothing to worry of anything. So, the nature of the living entities, they want to enjoy the material energy, but somehow it cannot be fully fulfilled, cannot be fully satisfied. They're trying to enjoy the material energy because we are not of this nature. But how is it that the living entities, superior in nature compared to the material energy, can be succumbed, can be subjugated by the material energy? It is due only to lust, trying to enjoy the results of one's fruitive activities. As Prabhupada said here, he says, it is deep-rooted. That is very difficult to give it up, even for the great sages to control such desires, despite great endeavors. So it's not possible to control the mind. Prabhupada says, the only way how one can control the mind is to think of Krishna, to think the glories of the Lord's name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes. That's the only way how we can control this flickering mind, turbulent mind. This is the duty of the mind. Attraction and repulsion, thinking, feeling, and willing. But when the mind is focused, especially on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, then one can become fully satisfied. The endeavor should be there to think of Krishna. But that endeavor has an eternal result, which is full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. Everyone has some desires one time or another. There is no way that there will be a time when the mind will become free from any desire. But we have to become desireless, Prabhupada says. Desireless means only desire what Krishna wants us to do. Or whatever Krishna's desires for us, that we should be desiring for. So the devotee of the Lord, he constantly engaged in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, is perfect in self-realization. Krishna conscious person is the best of all salvationists. How is that? Because effective control of senses is done by focusing on the lotus feet of the Lord, which uproots all the deep-grown desires of fruitive acts. That was the verse that was quoted here from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Greatest, the best of all salvationists. As Prabhupada says, you cannot save someone, or you cannot untie a person whose hands is tied up if your hands also are tied up. It's not possible. You have to have your hands untied, then you can untie others' hands that are tied up. That means, how can you save someone if our own senses and our mind is fully uncontrolled? It's not possible. Oh, Prabhupada gave it this example. Yes, a mother who came with a child to a Kaviraj, person who is very expert in curing diseases and ailments through Ayurveda. So the mother asked the Kaviraj, can you please help my child? He's very, very hyper. Cannot be stopped. He's always moving. Very difficult to control him. So the Kaviraj says, you come back next week. Then next week arrived, and the mother brought again the child. So she asked the Kaviraj, so now 1 week is past, can you please tell me how you can help my child? And the Kaviraj says, yes, you have to have him refrain from eating too much sugar. Why you did not tell me last week, if this is the only solution? Because I was also eating too much sugar last week. So the best way how we can help others is to also practice what we are supposed to tell them, what to do and what not to do. We have to walk our talk, as they say in English. So many so-called institutions, so-called spiritual institutions or organizations promising to help one become free from the cycle of repeated birth and death, promising whoever will take up to their process will also become liberated. But they themselves are having uncontrolled senses and mind. So it is a bluff only. It is not possible. It's not possible to do it. So we have to somehow or other focus our mind. This is the main purport here. That we have to focus our mind onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And different animals, or you may say different entities, were given in the purport by Srila Prabhupada by doing this. By vision, by meditation, and by touch. It's like the tortoise. Tortoise that brings up its offspring simply by meditation. Even though the tortoise is in the water, and she will laid her eggs into the sand, so it's far away. The tortoise is in the water, and the eggs is near the seashore in the land. But the meditation of the tortoise is always unto her eggs. And they'll be hatched in due course of time. And then there'll be more and more and more offsprings, tortoise, will be coming out. So she will just be meditating on the eggs while in the water. So similarly, a conditioned soul who is very far away from the spiritual world, if one continues to meditate unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, again, His name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking all the time, being focused, not being distracted by any material things, then eventually, as at the time of death, one will attain that abode. Yat gatbana nivartante taddama paramam mama. He does not have to come back again after once leaving the body. He'll go straight to the spiritual abode. Another example given here was the fish bringing up its offspring simply by looking at them. Simply by looking at them. There is a kind of fish, it's called the Pacific salmon. The Pacific salmon, they are native of the place and the places near the Pacific Ocean. Pacific salmon. So how they breed, how they be able to have the eggs be placed, they will go against the current. The current will go the opposite direction because it's very turbulent where the flow of the river will go. So the Pacific salmon will go against the current, swim against the current, and then once there will be a place where it will be so shanti, so peaceful, and then she will lay her eggs over there. Because that's the only way how the eggs will become hatched, or so to speak, the eggs will become fish, salmons. So similarly, a conditioned soul, in spite of so many miseries and sufferings, so many troubles one will face, is ready to face those troubles and miseries, knowingly that after the storm there'll be calm. So one has to fight against Maya. And if one is surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, if one is following the instructions coming from the Bhagavad-Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, the scriptures, from the sadhus, Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra, then eventually he will become victorious against the onslaught of Maya. As Prabhupada says, that being a devotee means declaring war against Maya. Maya, she is powerful, but Krishna is more powerful. As Prabhupada say, just by my one kick, then he'll be able to destroy the material energy, this Maya. Prabhupada can do that. So if we follow the instructions coming from the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, then we'll be able also to overcome the snare of Maya, the attraction of Maya. This is her duty. Another one here, an example is given as birds maintain their offspring by touching. So overall, similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself or herself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly, by engagement in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada has given us all the facilities to be engaged 24 hours in Krishna consciousness. As you may say, no stone unturned. Everything, as Prabhupada says, I gave everything in my books. Everything that we need to know, anything that we have to do, everything that we have to follow, all the directions given by Srila Prabhupada in his books are readily available to everyone, provided that we have to follow them in toto. Follow them wholeheartedly, sincerely. Then one can become Krishna conscious and attain this brahma-nirvāṇa. Brahma-nirvāṇa means he does not feel the pangs of material miseries. We may still feel the pangs of miseries, material miseries, but not in a very heavy way. Knowingly that we are not this body or spirit souls, then we will still get affected, but not as much. It's like if someone in your family left or departed, you will also feel the separation from that family member who just left. It's natural. But not as much if we do not know that we are not this body. I've seen some devotees, they even know, after knowing, or maybe not realizing. Knowing and realizing is different. Not realizing actually that we are not this body, that we're spirit souls, that one gets heavily affected as well. One will stop chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One will stop association of the devotees, being with the devotees. One will stop going to the mandir. I've seen. There are some places where we traveled that some devotees became affected like this. And what we will do is that we will go and visit them, give them support, trying to motivate them, inspire them again to continue on the process. So if one is not strong enough, then one will not be able to get out of this very predicament situation. So how one can become in the platform of brahma-nirvāṇa, this state of life, It will always be there. As long as we have this material body, the miseries, the fourfold miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease will be there. Or the miseries, the threefold miseries. Miseries created by our body. When we say body, that means the mind mostly. Or miseries created by other living entities. It's like that. It's like a couple of weeks ago we got this chikungunya. Oh, it's so heavy. We cannot move. The whole body was in pain. Still a little bit in pain. But we have to go on. Just keep praying to the Supreme Lord to be free from these miseries of the body created by other living entities, or miseries created by higher living beings, by nature, like calamities, typhoons or cyclones or tsunami and so on. Definitely, one will have this, or one will face all of these things. The miseries of life, of this material energy, will be inflicted to one as long as he is or she is in the material world. But if one is continuously immersed in the Supreme, then you'll be able to go over this very easily. Very easily. So this is the import of this verse. One should be self-disciplined and constantly endeavoring for perfection. And surely one will attain the Supreme in the very near future. Very near future. Okay, we'll stop here. Any question or comments in this point? Who is free from anger and material desires? Raise your hand. But we're working on it. We're working on it. Have any question?
Quick question.
Yes?
So this becoming free from anger and desire?
Material desires.
It sounds material desires. That sounds like very natural if you perform Krishna consciousness.
Yeah?
But I wanted to know, is there also some element of austerity required? And what is the austerity for devotees?
Well, the greatest austerity is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Because while chanting, the mind also is keep on wandering, except thinking of Krishna. So the austerity to control the dictations of the mind, besides thinking of Krishna, is not so easy. Yeah. And also, even though the chanting of the holy name is the primary means by which one can be delivered, our purpose is to be delivered, is to get out of this material world, but seemingly that we have other priorities besides getting out of this material world. That's why it is difficult to chant the holy name. If we're fixed in that determination to get out of this material world, then we will have the process to be the priority. But how to balance this? Because we have so many responsibilities also, especially the grihastas. For the brahmacharis and sannyasis, we don't have that much responsibilities. But when one is in the grihastha ashram, especially having children, how to balance, how to do this, how to juggle things whereby ultimately the goal will be attained. That's not so easy. So remain as a brahmachari. But for grihasthas, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. But if you're strong, you're determined, and you don't lose the sight of that vision of going back home, back to Godhead, that will be easily attained as well. Even though with some difficulty, but still it will be attained. Just like this different species of life mentioned here, the tortoise, the bird, and the fish. So this is example coming from the scripture. So if we follow that, even though seemingly it's very difficult, just like we gave that example of the Pacific salmon going against the current, the flow of water. So devotees, as we mentioned, they declare war against Maya. If we don't know how to do it, that's why the spiritual master comes in. The spiritual master will be able to give us proper direction, proper way how to tackle these things. Yeah. But when we approach the spiritual master, we should not only approach how to solve material problems, but mostly how to tackle the spiritual issues. Yeah? Any other points? Yes?
If I may humbly add that in order to progress and control our mind is, I have been in Grihastha ashram for many years, is to associate with like-minded devotees.
Yes. That is number one. Prabhupada gave us the formula. If we follow that, then everything will be easy. Live in the association with devotees, hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, worship the deities. Also, live in the holy dham. Now, if most of you will not be able to live in the holy dham, make your residence or your ashram, place of residence, to be like a holy dham, if Krishna is the center of one's activities. And that is a holy place as well. Yeah. Many devotees, when we go travel, they have deities at home. They hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, they chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and they invite their friends, or they go where there is some sangha, sadhu sangha, or they have bhakti vriksha programs or namahata programs. Then this will keep you strong. It will help you. Remain strong and become stronger. Others are fortunate to stay in the holy dham, but that doesn't mean that one already reached the spiritual abode as well. One should also be careful of Maya. Maya is everywhere. even in the holy dham. Any other points? Okay, one last question. Yes?
Maharaj, there's the effort to get free of material vices, the kāma and krodha, but then also it said in the verse that one is always striving for perfection, to achieve perfection. So it sounds like one is a negative, like you're getting rid of the bad things, but also you're striving for perfection.
Mm-hmm.
What is that striving for perfection? What does that mean?
Well, a devotee, he never feels satisfied for everything that he does. He's always thinking that I need to improve, even though he's already attained that level of perfection. Even our great acharyas, they will consider themselves to be fallen. Are they fallen? No. But they're always striving for that state of consciousness whereby they already reached that, they still think themselves as being fallen. So we should always be, it happens simultaneously in our case. We're fighting against Maya, and at the same time we're trying to attain perfection. So it goes simultaneously. Yes. The more we strive to attain perfection, then the more we're able to control our senses. Our mind, the dictations of the senses and the mind. So it'll go side by side. Yes, it's like a person who's hungry, every bite, morsels of food, one's hunger also becomes, it disappear, and at the same time you'll gain strength. So similarly, when we focus our mind unto Lord Krishna, then automatically we're controlling the mind. One doesn't have to struggle controlling one's mind. It's automatically, it's happening. So when we chant the holy name and we're sincere in chanting the holy name, then automatically we become purified, and at the same time we are also coming to the platform where we'll be able to develop love of God. The chanting is not just for purification. Chanting is also ultimately to attain love of God. And you control your senses, you control your mind. So everything all is being accomplished. Okay? So we stop here now? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Sitanat Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jai. Hare Krishna.